Okay, a few things I wanted to go over in addition to the tutorials that you're watching for your homework are a few extra things in Illustrator that you might not have covered. So one of the things is when you open up Illustrator, remember to make sure you're on Essentials Classic because that gives you the extra menu across the top. You'll also notice if you're on your arrow tool, the document setup at the top, preferences. I want to make sure that everyone changes on the preferences so that you have this box checked, scale, strokes, and effects. Just click OK. And then if you need to change the size of your page, you can always go to document setup here or here. I'll go up here, edit artboards. And then in this menu here, you can drag out the size of your artboard and change it. You can also change from vertical to horizontal landscape. The next thing is, remember we talked about the pencil tools. You can change the smoothness if you double click right here. And as you draw with a pencil tool, remember to notice the lines and the anchor points and the little symbols that appear next to the pencil tool. So right now it's a star. That means I'm going to start a new path. If I hover over a highlighted path like this, if I go to the end, it'll give me a backslash, which means I'm reconnecting with that path. And if I go back to where I started, it will have a circle next to the pencil, which means I've made it a complete shape now, so I can go and fill in that shape if I want to. If I go back to my arrow tool and select this one, I can do the same thing if I go back to my pencil. Reconnect and go back to where I started. Another thing I wanted to show you is the direct selection tool. So it's different than the regular selection tool. The direct selection tool allows you to double click on the anchor points and change the shapes completely. So the regular selection tool will put a bounding box around whatever you click on. You can change the scale and the size. You can rotate it. Remember, any time that you want to change the size and you want to keep it in proportion, you're going to hold Shift. The other thing is if you want to select multiple objects, you hold Shift and you can select multiple things at once by holding Shift and Shift to keep them in proportion and scale them both. With the Shape tool, if you go to the white selection tool, you can double click and completely change the shape. On the white selection tool, you're also going to see when you click on a shape, let me try that again. You'll see little white dots that appear in the corners. If you click and pull, it'll round the corners. If you double click on one of them, it'll round one corner. And then you watch the shape tutorial and the shape builder tutorial, but there's another way to combine shapes, and that would be if you select both, go to Window and Pathfinder. In Pathfinder, it gives you a few options to connect shapes like this, or you could do something like this. It just gives you a few more options in a little different way. And then finally, in the layers, remember everything you do, the first thing you draw is always going to be below the second thing you draw. So you can drag layers around. You can also click on things and right click and go to arrange and send them backwards or forwards. But you can really just drag the layers around. You can also lock the layer here if you don't want it to move and you don't want to make changes to that layer and you just want it to stay in place. I've locked this layer. So you can see this layer is not letting me move it. It's in place.